Hey, Sun Devil fans, Sandy Charles here for DevilsDigest.com, and I'm joined by our publisher, Hoda Rubino, as we preview this weekend's game. ASU travels to Salt Lake City to take on Utah in an afternoon game. Now, Hoda, it wasn't that long ago that fans and probably the players dreaded road games due to their track record. Has that been the most surprising part of 2019 season, their success they're having away from Tempe?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most surprising and really, I think the most impressive facet of this team. We hear so much about how young this team is, and maybe some people are sick of hearing it, but it's really a factor that cannot be overstated enough. And I feel that the fact that you have young players that are able to play that well on the road, that is something you should definitely not take for granted. I mean, every time ASU takes to a game away from Sun Devil Stadium, there's a freshman quarterback behind center. There are not one, but two true freshmen starting on the offensive line. The defense, as talented as it is, it's really a unit that's carried by its underclassmen, mostly its sophomores. So those are really aspects that you feel would hinder a team from having any kind of success on the road. And Arizona State right now, not only beating two teams on the road, but also two teams that at the time were ranked, that is definitely something that should not be taken for granted. And look, when you have success on the road, that usually translates into a successful season. It's no coincidence that the last two years that Arizona State had a winning record on the road, 2013, 2014. Oh, by the way, ASU won 10 games each season. So that definitely goes hand in hand. And one thing also to keep in mind is that in odd number years, just like 2019, obviously, you do play 7 home games and 5 road games. So on the one hand, you can say, okay, if I just protect my home field, I'm guaranteed a winning record. I can guarantee to get into a bowl. But that also means you don't have that many opportunities on the road, and you really have to take advantage of each and every opportunity that presents itself and really compensate for a home loss. Like Arizona State lost to Colorado, but they won on the road to Michigan State. They won against Cal. That's why they're ranked 17. That's why they right now have a better season than maybe some expected. So definitely the success on the road is something that has been impressive, has been surprising, and I feel that Arizona State has a valid reason to have all the confidence in the world going into a very hostile environment in Salt Lake City, facing the number 13th team in the country.
Now, ASU's offense had a breakout game last week against Washington State, best offensive output this year, but they're seeing a different level of defense than they saw at Washington State. This is a different caliber at Utah. What should we expect?
Yeah, the different level, that's probably putting it kindly. When you look at rushing defense, second in the country only to Wisconsin, yielding only 52.8 yards a game, that is beyond suffocating an opponent's rushing game, and every offensive coordinator will obviously tell you, maybe I guess sans Mike Leach, we have to run the ball. That's our best recipe for success. And it's also no surprise to see Utah top 10 in the major defensive categories as total points and total yards yielded. So yeah, it's definitely going to be quite the challenge for Arizona State. I fully expect the Utes to crowd the line of scrimmage, to stop Eno Benjamin, who had 175 yards rushing last year on them. They obviously know they have to shut him down. And obviously when you crowd the line of scrimmage, you're harassing a young quarterback in Jenny Daniels, who definitely shows so much poise week in and week out. But obviously, if you have any chance of rattling him, you're going to have to bring a lot of bodies and put him in their face. So this is really a game where I think the pass actually has to set up the run for Arizona State. And Arizona State, even though they're facing a very daunting defensive line, may be tempted at times to have empty sets, to have 4 wide receivers, because I think the Utah secondary can be exploited to some extent. I'm not comparing the level of talent of the USC wide receivers to that of ASU's, but if anybody watched that Utah game at Los Angeles, the USC wide receivers just really went wild on the Utah secondary. So I think that at least there is an opportunity for Arizona State, maybe not to put up the same numbers, but to really exploit those deficiencies in the Utah secondary. The thing is, and it's a really interesting dichotomy, that the weather is supposed to be quite nasty over there in Salt Lake City. It's supposed to rain nonstop the entire game. That obviously lends itself to a grimy game of 3 yards and a cloud of dust type of contest. And I think it's no coincidence that Washington State, among other issues, was not able to pass the ball that well when they played at Salt Lake City 2-3 weeks ago, just because it was very rainy conditions in that game as well. So it's going to be very hard to run the ball against Utah, but I think if the conditions are as bad as we think they're going to be, Arizona State's really going to have to some way somehow find some success on the ground. But again, I think by and large, Arizona State is going to have more success in the air than they're going to have on the ground. Now it's just a matter of, are we going to see just a lot of short passes that really don't materialize into moving the chains that much and really to gaining good field position even for a field goal? Or do we see plays like we saw from Brandon Ayuk so many times last week where a 10-yard pass turns into an 80-yard touchdown? That's going to be interesting to see. And like I said, the weather conditions can really affect Arizona State quite a bit in trying to get their passing game going against the Utes.
Now, Utah's offense is known for playing physical, and that's definitely still intact, but their quarterback, Tyler Huntley, is playing better than he ever has and keeping this unit well-balanced. What should we expect from them?
Yeah, I think Tyler Huntley, and I went on record many times, was someone who was stopping Utah, I believe, to really reach that next level. They did win the Pac-12 South last year, but I don't think I would show any bias over here being an ASU beat writer saying that Arizona State handed that Pac-12 South title to Utah in 2018 on a silver platter, because everybody saw how well they played against Utah over here last November. Yes, Tyler Huntley is playing much better, and I think their new offensive coordinator, Andy Ludwig, is really a big part of that. He really revamped Tyler Huntley as a passing quarterback. Great numbers right now, 9 touchdown passes, no interceptions, a completion rate of 75%. And sure, they're facing defenses every week that are so concerned with a very talented running back in Zach Moss and very talented running game in general. Tyler Huntley is a very good runner in his own right, but I just feel that Tyler Huntley has really matured and developed quite a bit as just a pure passing quarterback. Now, on the flip side, Tyler Huntley, he may not say it publicly, but he probably thinks that ASU is his kryptonite, because the last 2 outings against the Sun Devils, he only has 1 touchdown and 6 interceptions to show for. Granted, the game last year here in Tempe, he didn't finish the game due to injury, but you'd like to think that Arizona State, in terms of a defense that's a monkey on his back, is definitely a valid concern with someone like Tyler Huntley. So the Arizona State defense, they're going to have a real hard time stopping Zach Moss. This is by far the best running back they saw to date, maybe the best running back they're going to see the entire year. But I think that they would be very content in just like Utah, I guess, really harassing the quarterback as much as they can and take their chances with Tyler Huntley. And the passing game beating them. So I think that's the approach Arizona State's going to take. But like you said, it's such a well-balanced offense. It looks like it's a unit that has an answer to anything that defense will throw at them. You could definitely make the argument that Utah hasn't faced a defense of the caliber of Arizona State until now. So maybe Arizona State is able to find success where other opposing defenses against Utah were not able to find. But definitely a tough task for Danny Gonzalez and his group, because again, the balanced offense that they're going to face is really one of those pick your poison scenarios. So I'm really curious to see how Arizona State does against this Utah offense. But I really have no doubt in my mind they're going to take their chances with Tyler Huntley trying to beat them rather than yielding a lot of yards to running back Zach Moss.
And we talked about their success on the road, but this is probably the biggest test they're going to face this season. How do you see it playing out?
Yeah, it's really going to be a tough challenge to say the least. Utah right now is absolutely rolling. Like I said, ranked 13th in the country. Even though Arizona State has found a lot of success in Salt Lake City, they really only lost 1 game over there since Utah joined the Pac-12. I think this is probably the best Utah team that they have faced since Utah joined the Pac-12. And I also think that even though Arizona State has a lot of reasons to be confident, again, their track record on the road speaks for itself. I know that the players know that they're a 14-point underdog. I think a line that is way too inflated. They definitely have a chip on the shoulder facing this game, but I also feel that this offense is facing the best defense they're going to face all year long, and the defense, on the other hand, is facing the most balanced offense they're going to see in the entire 2019 season. So I think those elements, and like I said, really tough rainy conditions, which are going to favor a strong running game, really play into Utah's hands. And as much as I talk about the ASU defense needing to harass Tyler Huntley as much as they can, their pass rush all year long has been 1 step forward, 2 step back. Great performance against Cal, not that great, at least for the first 3 quarters against Washington State. So that is one element I think that's somewhat concerning when you look at this matchup. So I see Utah winning this game 21-13.
Awesome. Thank you, Hode. For more, keep it locked into DevilsDigest.com for all of your pregame coverage and postgame coverage. We will be in Salt Lake City, coming to you live from there. For Hode Rubino, I'm Sandy Charles. Keep it locked into DevilsDigest.com.